Hey everyone, Nick Sforza here, owner broker of the Manhasset Realty Group. And although we are located in Manhasset, we cover all of Long Island, all of Queens. We do all forms of residential, such as primary residence, investments, condos, co-ops, and so forth. But our specialty, as you know, is estate sales, distress sales, and downsizers. And in the distress sales, we usually get a lot of clients that unfortunately are going through a divorce. And I'm very excited to have a special guest here. Her name is Julie Desmond. Did I say that right, Julie?
Yes, you did.
All right. And Julie is a DCA certified ADR divorce coach. She helps people navigate divorce in a healthier, more organized way, focusing on communication, decision making, and smoother transitions. I wanted to bring Julie on to help us understand what divorce coaching is and how it can help my clients and how it connects to real estate. So, Julie, let me start by saying thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for that great introduction, and thank you for inviting me to be on your show. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, definitely excited to talk to you hopefully for the next 15, 20 minutes about what you do and how it, helps us realtors, how it helps my clients and so forth. So just real quickly, why
Absolutely.
don't you tell my audience, who you are personally, where you began, how you got to this point.
Absolutely. So, like you said, I'm Julie. I'm happy to be here. I am a DCA certified divorce coach. As you stated, I've been working at this profession for a couple of years now after unfortunately suffering a traumatic divorce of my own and going through it alone.
Mhm.
I started to wonder, other than becoming a lawyer, because I was kind of aged out of that, of going back to school for 4 years. I wasn't really looking into that. I thought, how else can I help people going through divorce? And I reflected back on my own experience of feeling alone, not being able to get advice other than legal, advice. And I didn't have any support. So I started, investigating and seeing what I could do in the profession to help people. And that's when I found out about divorce coaching.
Great, great. Yeah, it sounds like it's a bit of a calling here, a little bit of a passion of yours. Am I right to say that?
Definitely a passion, and it gives me great joy to help, make the process easier for people. It's never really easy, but if I can help in any way, yes, it's definitely a passion of
Yeah,
mine.
that's why I was very intrigued to talk to you when we connected through our networking. I have clients that go through this, obviously, and they're selling homes and it's a very stressful, tense moment for everybody, and understandably so. So when I came across you and your job title, I was like, this might be a great podcast. So I'm really happy you're here today. So why don't we start from like the beginning? Like, can you explain what a DCA certified ADR divorce coach is and what makes your role different from, let's say, an attorney or a therapist or something like that?
Yes. So, first of all, ADR stands for Alternative Dispute Resolution for those people that don't know. And my main goal, my main focus is minimizing conflict with my clients. As we know, there's usually a lot of high conflict in divorce. So, I give work with my clients and help them discover options other than coming back with retaliating with conflict. We work through options, open their eyes to different procedures they can take, things like that. As far as being different to an attorney, I do not give legal advice. I am not authorized to give legal advice. I don't want to give legal advice. And also, your other question was about therapist. Therapy unpacks the past, like childhood, teenage years, things like that. Divorce coaching is future focused. So we might talk about like the past, that, their divorce situation, but I'm not going back into the childhood, the teen years, the previous years. It's about now, what's happening now, and what they can expect. Because some people, obviously a lot of people have never been through a divorce before. So it's new to a lot of people. It's what to expect now and what they're looking for in their future, and help them to get to the best outcome that they can.
Okay, so are you speaking to most clients before the divorce actually happens, or when they're thinking about it, or when it's actually in the process, or is it a little bit of everything?
Well, that's a really good question, because I do lately, at the moment, a lot of my clients are thinking about the process.
Mhm.
And it makes me very happy that they come to me to so I can inform them of little things about what they may expect. Some people have no idea. They don't know their budgets. They don't know about parenting plans. So we just can discuss a lot of that. I can open their eyes to what the process will be, maybe talk about mediation, things like that. And then also have clients that some are even like on the verge of, getting to their final judgment, ready to be divorced, and they want a phone call or the Zoom call before they're going in, just so that they can feel prepared. It's really a lot about getting people prepared for the process.
Understood. Understood. So let me jump ahead a little bit because I think you answered the questions 2 and 3 that I had on my list.
Oh,
So
sorry.
no, you're doing great. So let's the value of divorce coaching. Let's go to that. So what are some of the most common challenges people face during divorce, and how do how would you say you help them through those moments? If you want to tell us a story or an example, but what would you say is the most common challenges?
Common challenges, a lot to do with parenting, and also a lot about, should people stay in the marital home? This is one of the biggest questions I ever get asked, sorry.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot sometimes to work through with my clients
Hmm.
of, what is in their best interest. I couldn't tell you the most popular question because it varies, across the board. It's a lot to do with children. It's a lot to do, can I afford? A lot of financial questions. Some people have never even been involved in their finances, men or women, because I do work with both male and female.
That's a great point. I noticed that as well. Even when I get into it, whoever hires me, sometimes that particular client has no clue as to where their finances were in the last 20 years, because they relied on the other spouse to handle that. Um, yeah, and
Yeah,
that,
I see that a lot. I see
yeah,
that a lot. And that is what, a good reason to come to a coach. We can help them find out what their resources would be, what their finances currently are, and what their budget would be, going forward.
yeah, I would think this is important information before they go down this really tough path, an emotional path, because it's not always so easy. Most of the time, it's not very easy. So I think that's great information for one of your clients to have before they go and make a really big decision that's obviously going to affect their lives and maybe their children's lives and so forth.
Absolutely. And then also, it can also help them to be in a position of, do I file for divorce now, or do I get all my information gathered and maybe file in 6 months?
Yeah.
Again, so not to be repetitive, but preparation.
So that's a great comment because divorce, I've never been through it, but from what I've seen from my clients and friends, I've had some great friends that are going through it. So I'm going through it now. It's obviously very emotional, right? So sometimes people make emotional decisions, and I think your role, I would guess, and you tell me, is kind of controlling that emotions, I guess. So before they make a decision that's going to hurt their future. So like, how do you support clients emotionally and practically without crossing that line of, obviously legal and therapeutic and so forth, if that makes sense?
Yes, yes. Well, for sure, emotions are very high on most of my Zoom calls or my calls that I have with my clients. That's a very common theme.
Yeah.
So, what I like to do with my clients is obviously talk through it. Um, we have some strategies of how to respond to the soon to be ex if that's what's causing the emotion to be high. For example, one strategy is called BIFF, and if they need to text back to their ex or respond in an email, brief, informative, firm, and friendly. We're not going to get our emotions involved in it. It's basically, and I hate to say this, but divorce becomes a business transaction.
Yeah.
And I have to try to work my clients to handle their emotions, get a grip on their emotions, and think of it more like a business transaction.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Very well said. So conflict resolution, things like that, I would think that's something you're very strong in.
definitely, that's the main goal of the ADR, what we spoke about earlier,
Yeah.
conflict resolution. Yes, helping my clients make informed decisions, not and teaching them to not react immediately.
Mhm.
If they get a text, they can reach out to me. How do I respond to this? Or I always tell them, look at it, read it, do not respond immediately. give yourself a couple of hours to think it over. Once you know, because if you're responding to conflict immediately, it's battling conflict with conflict usually,
Mhm.
and that's when it escalates, and then we have a whole high conflict situation.
So I just thought of a question because obviously, if you were an attorney, you would just work with one spouse, whether it's the wife or the husband. Um, in your situation, have you ever worked with both of them at the same time? Have they both hired you to kind of guide them through this, or you mainly work with just one person?
Mainly, I work with one of the sides, the husband or the wife, but I have actually had a couple
Mhm.
that when I was working with the wife and she asked if her husband could sit in
Mhm.
with us, and he did for a couple of sessions, and that worked out really well actually.
Yeah,
But usually
that's what I
it's
thought.
one on one.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I'm not. This is not my expertise, but I would think that that might be a good method for the spouses, to kind of hear the same thing and get on the same page and hopefully make it as painless as possible,
It's
for
a
them
great
in every
idea.
single way. Yeah.
I'm sorry to cut you off. It's a great idea, but a lot of the time they're not willing.
Yeah.
So
I can
if
see that.
someone says my soon-to-be ex is willing, I would be happy to have them
Yeah.
come in. Yes, absolutely.
Gotcha. All right, so let's
Yes.
connect this to real estate now, which is my world, right? So divorce
Yes.
often involves major financial decisions, obviously, and housing decisions usually falls in that. How do you help clients navigate real estate decisions, during a divorce or during these difficult times?
Very difficult times, and this is a major decisions that my client will have to make. So to the point, usually a couple in a house, either one or two of them are going to be moving.
Yeah,
One possibly could keep the marital home, or two, each that they could sell it and then both move out. How I help my clients, because a lot of the time it's like they come to me, I need to stay in the marital home. I need to keep the marital home. This is where my kids live. This is where they're growing up. These are the memories. It's emotional. But what I have to do, and sometimes it's not easy, is reality testing with
yeah,
my clients. Yes, it's a nice house, all well and good. The kids are having fun. You like the neighborhood. Can you afford it?
yeah,
Is really the bottom line.
yeah,
And if you can afford it, how are we going to get to that point that it becomes yours?
yeah. Exactly. Kind of similar to my conversation. That's always when I get someone who calls me and says they're going through a divorce and they're contemplating selling the house or they need to sell the house, but let's focus on contemplating. It's always about, for me, like the finances first. What do you owe on the house? What is going to be your monthly
Right,
payment? What is going to be your agreement with the divorce? Like who's going to be responsible for the mortgage and the taxes and the insurance and the upkeep? I live in a town called Manhasset. There's some beautiful homes over here. They're 3,000, 4,000 square feet. Who's going to repair the home? Who's going to take care of leaks? Who's going to take care of the lawn? The electric bills, like these things really, really add up. And I know they want to stay in the home, and I really try, would obviously that's my priorities to give
right,
what my client wants. But my main role is kind of similar to what you do here, is to look out for their best interest in a real estate aspect. And sometimes they can do it, depending on what their agreement is with the spouse. It could happen. Um, but there definitely are times where I have to tell them, like, I just don't think it's a good idea. Like, let's look at the bigger picture. Like, let's think of downsizing. Let's think of finding something smaller. You could sell this, buy something all cash, not have the expense because right now you're making an emotional decision. You want your
right.
home. Your kids grew up here. You're could be upset at your spouse, and you're like, no, I'm not leaving this home. No way. But you got to think 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the road. Is this going to be the best thing for you? And that's a tough conversation to have, and that's sometimes I think where multiple people have to have that conversation with them, me being one, you being a second person.
Right, right.
I really don't know what conversation attorneys have with them, but I really try to do what's best for them, and it's definitely the biggest challenge. A lot of them don't want to sell, and I don't blame them. I have 4 children, and if I went through that, it would bother me to know that I left the house and then my wife and kids had to leave the house. Like that would bother me, and obviously we would try to avoid that.
Yeah,
But it
yeah.
would it would have to be finances come first. Like you can't, hurt yourself financially for decades to come because of emotions or pride. Like that's just not a good thing. So
Yeah.
we definitely got to look. We got to talk if like they want to buy the spouse out. Like talk to a mortgage broker. Can you qualify for this loan? What is going to be your monthly payment? Let's not do something harsh here, and let's definitely
Right.
look into all
Yeah.
the details, right?
Exactly. And then a lot of people, it's not only going to be the mortgage. Like they're like, oh, I can afford this mortgage, but you've got homeowners insurance, you've got taxes, you've got all the bills, you've got the lawn. I mean, I live in Florida, so you've got the pool in the yard, and that all adds up.
Yeah.
And I do find my strategy that I have with people when they say to me, oh, the memories, as a divorce coach focusing on the future, I try to make it sound better for them. You can move somewhere and make new memories.
Yeah.
This is your future. Don't get stuck in position because you feel like you're going to win. First of all, is usually the thing, like I'm staying, I'm winning, and you're going to end up hurting yourself because you can't afford it.
Yeah. I think that's well said. And I think we're covering, I had another question for you right after that, but I think we're covering in the same
Oh,
conversation is how can, no, it's, I think I jumped into it. How do the three of us work together, the coach, the realtor, and the attorneys? And I think we're kind of, covering that where my aspect, yes, is to sell the home and obviously sell it for the most amount of money, but it's also to look out for the client's best interest. And I never had an opportunity to speak to someone like you. That's why I was so intrigued to have this meeting, not just for my clients, but even for other realtors to hear.
yes,
To
absolutely.
have the coach, it's they don't always listen to realtors, and although I do think if I come in very, compassionate and honest, I think they listen and they really do appreciate that. But to have someone like you and say, look, I'll focus on the real estate. Let me introduce you to someone named Julie, and she will, talk to you more about this type of stuff. I think it's really good to have a team like this for anybody that's going through this very, very difficult time. Obviously, you're hiring an attorney, but having you as a coach, and then obviously having a good realtor that you trust and is going to do the right thing for you, not just be interested in selling the home.
Right,
That's
right.
not a good thing either because it could hurt as well in a different way. So,
Yep.
um,
I
yeah,
mean, and I always say to my clients, like, they need a team. I don't want to be the only one. I can help to a certain point. Sometimes, a mediator will come in or an attorney. But like you just said, if there's a realtor, a divorce coach, and an attorney, the attorney in legal terms is going to say, we're selling the house. You need to sell the house. And the client will come to me and then we'll talk through it. The attorney's, well, first of all, who wants to pay the attorney five or $600, $700 to say, to give a little bit of emotional advice if they can. A lot of them don't. But, to come to me and talk through it and reality test with them really what is the benefit of staying in the marital home.
so I don't know if you can answer this question. You probably could, but what are some red flags for real estate brokers like to look out for when dealing with clients that are in the middle of divorce? So someone may call me and say, like, I have to sell the house, and as a realtor, and I hate to say this about me, but when you hear someone's got to sell a house, most realtors jump up, they stop what they're doing, they run to take the listing, let's sell it.
Of course, yeah, that's your
Um,
business. Why not?
yeah, exactly. But obviously, we're supposed to, I take pride. We got to be more professional and obviously listen to them and hear them and be problem solvers. But what would you say are some things that a realtor should look out for when they get that call? Anything you suggest or any advice for someone, anybody in the real estate industry?
Well, the first thing I would say is it theirs to sell? I mean, obviously, I know that's a no-brainer kind of question that you normally would ask to anybody,
That,
probably.
that's a good question because like the wife or husband or one of the spouses could sign the listing agreement. The other one could be like, "What the heck is going on here? I'm on
Exactly.
this deed too." And
Yeah,
that
I think that's
that
a big.
happens in estate sales sometimes. People are
Oh,
so quick to sell their home, and it's like my first question is because I'm so experienced in estate sales, like. Do you have a trust? Are you the executor of this will? Like, and they look at me with like two heads. I'm like, you need to speak to an elder law attorney to make sure that you can
right.
actually sell this home right now. And
Yeah, yeah.
I've known people have gone through sales and found out down the road they're not able to sell.
Well, it's
So that's
supposed to.
yeah,
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah.
But go ahead. Yeah,
So I think that would be, one of the red flags. And then also you could ask that person, if they mention that they're going through a divorce, so they're working with an attorney, maybe you could reach out to their attorney just to make sure.
hmm
And sometimes I would say the red flags to look out for would be the price, because it could be one person's like, I want out and I'm selling this extremely low,
yeah,
or the other person could be like, I don't really want to move, I'm gonna list it really, really high,
yeah.
so it has less chance of selling.
Yeah, I just recently went through that in the house. I was on the buyer side though, but
Oh, wow.
the husband and the wife were just on two different planets. Like one was like, I'll take 70 cents on the dollar, and the other one wanted a dollar 50 for every
Yeah.
dollar, you
Oh, I've
know,
seen that.
and
I've
yeah.
seen that too. Yeah.
And
So,
they were like very vindictive to each other, and it was just getting uglier and uglier. But we ended up getting through it and make the deal happen.
wow.
But
That's good.
yeah, but it's I think that's a great point. And I like to focus more on listings. In this case, I was a buyer rep, but I like to focus more on listings. And I think the first part is this is where conflict resolution comes in, and this is where I may call someone like you and say, you may want to speak to a friend of mine because getting on the same page before it comes to me, I think is so crucial. It
Yes.
can hurt them financially. Like you can get it on the market. The first few weeks of a listing are the most important time because it's brand new. It's like a new toy. So
Yeah.
everybody's excited. If you price it right, everybody's excited and they jump on it. And then you start getting, sometimes you even get a bidding war. But when you really like asking a ridiculous price or people can't come to terms with something, they waste buyers' time and then they move on to the next one. And then your house kind of sits there for 3, 4, 5 weeks. And that hurts the value because people start to think like, oh, it's not worth that price.
Right.
And start making
No.
lower offers. No one's buying it. So getting them on the same page is really, really crucial, I think, before someone like me takes that listing.
Yeah, I definitely would be a little aware if people say I'm going through a divorce, like ask some extra questions before you actually take that listing.
Yeah. Um, what would you say are some misconceptions about divorce coach, if there are any?
I don't really know if there are any. All I know is that people don't know a lot about coaching because a lot of times that people ask me what I do and I say I'm a divorce coach, they look at me like I've got two heads. A
Mhm.
lot of people have never heard about it. Once they find out, once I explain a little bit about what I do, a lot of people turn around and say, I wish I had you when I was going through it. And that's really why I started because I wish I had a divorce coach when
Yeah.
I was going through it.
I think your first sentence was right. Like misconceptions, like I don't think people are aware that it's there. So,
Right.
definitely good that we're doing this and giving some information out to, definitely my followers and my clients and hopefully potential clients and so forth. Um, if someone was listening to this right now and considering going through a divorce, like what stage should they reach out to someone like you?
Any stage from beginning to final judgment or even thinking about it. I'm happy,
Yeah.
they can reflect questions around with me. I'm happy to talk to anybody at any stage,
And
men
obviously,
or women,
okay.
male or women.
And obviously everything's confidential, right? They would reach out to you
It
and
is confidential. Occasionally, I will work with attorneys and there will be agreements that I may possibly have to go to court. So then it becomes not confidential, like that it's in the attorney bubble kind of thing, like the legal side bubble. But yes, it is all confidential until maybe a court order if I had to come.
all right. And I guess my last question is what's one piece of advice you'd give to someone trying to balance the craziness of finances, finding a new place, going through a divorce, trying to find a place to live and so forth? Is there any suggestions you can give to anybody that's going through that right now?
I would just say know your budget and don't overextend to save face and being the big house that looks so good in the neighborhood. To me, it's more about building memories in the future. You can do that in a one-bedroom apartment if you need to, and you're happy because you've got money to go out. Like, don't make yourself struggle.
Yeah, I think that's well said. That's well said. When I first got married, I had a small studio apartment, and it was the best. It was the best. There was no expenses.
Right.
Life was easy. We did whatever we wanted. As soon as we started getting the bigger house, it's like I feel like I work for my house. It gets a
Right.
little stressful. So very,
Yeah.
very good tip.
Thank
So how can people connect to you? Obviously, we're going to wrap this up now. I want people to know how to reach you. You're licensed in New York. Like obviously, I'm in New York. You could help people in New York.
It's not actually a license; it's a certification. And yes, I'm certified in the whole of the US, all over the country, all over the world. To be honest,
Okay.
yeah, but
Okay,
mostly
great.
the clients are in the US. Um, I do offer. Just let me say this: I do offer a free consult for anybody interested. We can
Mhm.
talk about what they would like to work with me about. It's a 30-minute consult, and that is free. And you can find that on my website, which is desmonddivorcecoaching.com,
Okay.
or you can email me at desmonddivorcecoaching@gmail.com,
Mhm.
or shoot me a text or phone call at 561 400 7109.
Great, and I'll be sure to add all that contact into the description when I put this on our social media accounts and so forth. So I really
Thank you.
just can't thank you enough. I think this was really informative. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot, I think. I hope my clients and my audience did too, and your audience
Yeah,
eventually.
absolutely.
I just really want to thank you for jumping on, and I'd be sure to keep your contact. I would think it's a great idea that as soon as I get a call from somebody that's going through this, the first thing I think I'm going to ask is, do you have, obviously they have an attorney, but do you have a coach that can help guide you through this as well? And I'd be happy to pass your name along. So thank you
I
so much.
appreciate that. And I appreciate that you see the value of divorce coaching.
Yeah, definitely do. Definitely. I've been through a few, like I said, quite a few divorce deals, and I've never had someone like you talking to it. Obviously, attorneys,
Right.
and I obviously no disrespect to attorneys, they do a great service for people, but that's a different conversation than having a conversation like this with you. So I think, yeah, definitely tremendous value. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All
Thanks for
right.
having me.
Enjoy Florida and have a great day. Thanks so much. All right.
Thanks, Nick. Bye bye.
You got it.